Welcome to Heritage Village. It's September 7th, 2025. They have an American Revolution type program down here today and some outdoor cooking again, so let's go check it out. I hear Dana on the other side of the building talking. We will go inside and sign in.
You can make this game and you can do it with more sticks. So I'm going to have you hold these sticks. So like the very back. And I'm going to show you guys if you two can take turns with my sticks. So I want you to stay there. And I'm going to move away. Okay? Now, can your two little siblings come visit me over here? Okay. Excellent, excellent.
We are here with Dana, and Dana has brought in a few guests today. What are they doing today?
I have brought in guests all weekend. This is a Revolutionary War focused weekend at the Heritage Village in Miamisburg. So we have special guests. We have the Bowmans are here with their 18th century Native American representation. We have Jake and Eileen here as a trader and just all kinds of other information. Eileen is doing weaving on a reproduction of an 18th century box loom. And we have Wanda back, who's been cooking over an open fire and making 18th century recipes. She's baking bread today. We had a feast yesterday and just all kinds of new things. Yesterday, this field had Revolutionary War Navy Regiment members, and this was all set up for that too. So we're bringing something new every time we come out here.
I think we got one more month of something. Do we go through October or November here? Through October.
It is the first weekend of October. I think it's just Sunday of that particular weekend. I forget what the theme is, so we'll have to check back on that. And that will end the season. However, they do have at the beginning of December a Christmas event, so you can keep an eye out for first Sunday of October, and then keep an eye out for whenever the Christmas.
It's the first Sunday of December normally.
Yeah.
So
keep an eye out.
Different societies, so there couldn't even be as many like the metal police and different women's societies that would.
Hello. You're doing the finger weaving.
I am.
That's all I know about it.
This particular style of finger weaving, because there are different types and methods. What I'm doing is the oblique or open face style, which is the modern name for it. And all of these pieces here, those are all pieces I've made using that method. As you can see, it's very different from what you see at a lot of your modern day powwows, because that's an entirely different method. And it became more common after the turn of the 19th century. And that's woven more like you would with a warp and a weft on the loom. So this style actually predates European contact. And while I'm using, of course, wool that's been dyed in glass beads, that would have been traded once the Europeans came. Before that, you can see examples of bison wool, moose hair, bast fibers, which basically means plant fiber.
What was available to them.
What was available, yeah. And contrary to popular belief, a lot of your pre-contact clothing was woven, not skins. They would definitely use hides with the hair on for warmth items, but your...
What era are we talking about here? Or just from when, or not when to start, but about till how long did they do this type of, in general, for the clothing and the...
be
that you're
this would
talking
be
about?
Pre-contact, so up to
Okay, pre-contact. Got you. Okay.
European trade being introduced.
Okay, just trying to grab a feel for that. Like I'm looking at the beads and I'm looking at all this work. Is that how you started them there, and then you just add them in at a certain
So
level?
I have them on.
I see
have them
there.
on specific strands,
Okay.
and there is a way to switch direction.
And so so they're just there ready for you to pull up one at a time
Just
when you
seat
reach
'em
the.
where you want 'em, in order to make the different patterns. 'Cause this one's a good example because it's a little more intricate.
I
I had to pay
see.
a little more attention to what I was doing. So I had to start a new carrier every time I wanted to put an extra diamond in there.
Okay.
Whereas these are all done on the same, and then the diagonal zigzags can all be done
But
on
your diamond, you had the
one.
extra.
Yeah. So
Well, it looks great. Yeah.
it's a lot of practice, a lot of colorful language.
That means red, blue, green, yellow, all the colors are included.
Colors. And it is very colorful. You can find originals. In fact, the black belt that I have there is a copy off of an original belt that belongs most likely to a Seneca man. And I think the provenance on it, they think it's around 1720 would have been when that one was
Do you mean like a chief? Is it when you said that? Or you said command? I don't know.
Specifically which man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
it's
just.
a man's belt.
Oh, okay,
It's
okay.
more common for men than they
I thought I heard command, and then I was like,
Sorry.
okay.
There's a lot going on over here.
So for man.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this will eventually be a belt too. A little more of a simpler pattern. This one's actually going out to Oklahoma when it's finished.
Okay. I was going to ask about that. I mean, you sell these, I would
I
imagine.
do actually. The black one was a commission, and the guy ghosted me on it. So
Ghosted
it's now
you?
one of my display pieces instead.
Listen, Ghoster. She thanks you for the display piece.
Like no removal. Like them gotta stay.
Where would someone contact you to? Do you got-
Shoot, I don't have it out here. It's
Well-
in the car. I do have cards.
Okay, and I'll take
but
a picture
we
of that.
have
And
we actually have a Facebook page called Bowman Station.
And it's interesting.
as
and that's
it
where-
sounds,
As it sounds. Yep.
Bowman Station, one word. Facebook.
And I post things as I get them made, if it's available, or like, events that we are going to, because people like to come out, of course, and
Right
actually
now.
see it in action.
Oh yeah.
I've been asked about teaching as something I hope to eventually add. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm still. I'm only about 2 years in right now, so I just want to get a little more time and practice.
No,
under
I
my
got
belt
it.
before I
And
start
you're
teaching other people.
and you can relax when you're not
Yes.
teaching. You're just
Yes.
chilling. You can stop. It's
Exactly.
like
So this is kind of my jam when we're out here at events.
Okay,
This,
well,
and then
appreciate.
I do the ribbon work.
ribbon,
So as
meaning.
well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So ribbon
so
work is this.
Yep, this is what's called a match coat. For some, right now, it's just a seat.
Okay.
But like he's got his over his shoulder. Did the ribbon work
Okay.
on
Nice.
that as well. And
Oh, she just used you as an example right now.
Yeah,
Didn't mean to
yeah.
chase her
I'm
away.
sitting on mine. You're actually wearing yours.
Hey, both of them are being useful in their own way.
Exactly. And they had several uses. So.
Okay.
It would show your distinction in the tribe, so things that you have done, things that you had earned.
Okay. Like, what do you mean? Like,
So, like,
give an
in
example.
Combat,
So combat or hunting, or is it just combat?
combat and
Okay.
tribal politics. So as a man would go out and do things in a party of other older men. Say as a young man, if you did something like, so in the era of flintlocks, oftentimes a native strategy was to draw fire. I'll be the peacock and I'll stand up and come behind the tree. And when they shoot at me and they miss, now they're unloaded and you can rush them with ball clubs. So things like that, the older men would pull you aside afterwards and say, like, that was very, very brave of you to take that fire. So we like to give you a ribbon, something for you to wear, to show everybody else that, you know, you're
Something the military uses with their combat stripes, with the different things, or
war on our tattoos. Things
Yeah.
that you've earned it. They would say you've earned this. Just like
Okay.
our Purple Hearts and Bronze Stars today.
okay.
So you'll
I get
actually
that.
see in like original artwork, men with ribbon coats, ribbon match coats that are the whole thing is done, and then their war honor tattoos are all over their body, their chest, their face.
Yeah, I understand that. Very good. So you both are working together then, or I'm going with that since you said you made that. I'm making that leap right there.
He's my husband.
Oh, you're really working together.
Somewhere around here is a little
The one
height.
she come down, she said, "Mommy grabbed some berries and ran."
That's ours.
You
Yeah,
have a lot of things too as a part of
yeah,
Warriors.
yeah. This is what.
Like your prisoner ties, ball clubs that as a young man, if you decided that you were going to be like your dad and your uncles and become a warrior, which is a personal choice, or you could hang out in the village and do like womanly things without listening to the world that you could take. Or you could go and become a warrior like your dad and your grandpa and your uncles.
To stick with the ball. Is that the clubs you're talking about running up on people?
Yeah, you'd be given prisoner ties and
Oh.
part of your initiation into manhood. So you would then become a warrior, and you'd be expected to start training, start running, swimming against the current, doing things that would improve your physical conditioning, your stamina, basically like modern day military.
Yeah.
Where you'd be expected to do things, and then these would be symbols of your status. Most people often have a different, like, conceptualize different things like Hollywood, and they would call like a ball club a skull cracker or something, but it has much deeper and profound spiritual aspects to it. Where you, as a man, you're raised to be last. Women and children and old men eat first. Men come last. It's a matrilineal society. Women are first. And as a man, you're a provider. So you, as a man, you're secondary. So in combat or anything, you'll even see times where even the battle of People Town, where the town is being shelled by American artillery, the women and children are told to leave, and the men will hold out. Let the women and children alone. But it's things that you're given, and you would work with, like your dad, to make your own and really understand the significance of it. Like the Shawnee story about ball clubs, where often as a father, when you knew that you were going to have a son, oftentimes they would tear a sapling in the woods, break it, purposely break it,
Oh.
so it would grow with a gnarly root ball on it. So by the time that kid is ready to become a man, say like 16 years into the future, when they're 16, you would take your son out into the woods, and you would go back to that place with your woodworking tools, and you'd show your son, like, here's this tree, here's this axe, I'm gonna cut it down, I'm gonna kill this tree. It's taken 16 years to get to this point, and here, in just a handful of seconds with this tomahawk and woodworking tool, I'm gonna kill it. So think about that.
The prep work to know in advance and to pre-plan and stuff, and then hope your son chooses that path instead of the hanging out in the camp path.
But it would be a teaching tool for that kid to understand just how detrimental violence can be. Like, the belts down there, that peace is always the best road, the white roots of peace. That if you can come to an agreement first, if you can come to a treaty agreement, that is more important than conflict, because they would always say, in conflict, nobody wins. Just like the Greeks say that only the dead have seen the end of war. And First Nations people knew that, like, a conflict can become, like, never ending.
Huh, we have somewhat familiarity with that in our society, the whole world. Yeah.
That was often a tenet in Native philosophy of, we'll pursue peace as long as we can, unless we're pushed to war. In which case, we'll always try to circle back to peace.
Now this is, you said Native in general, but not all the tribes though. Some of them was very warlike. Is that correct or not? Or is that just some fake history?
Yeah. You'll have different distinctions. So for Eastern Woodland tribes, the white roots of peace, the wampum belts that come down from up north and from the eastern seacoast, that is a very common thing. The wampum belts, like that one there with the design in the middle, the one bowl and spoon, it predates contact with Europeans, and the concept behind that was we're all eating out of the same bowl.
Same guys that.
So we all have to learn how to deal with each other because we're our paths are crossed. Like
everybody comes together all in there in Edmond and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's just a wondrous place. There's really living history.
I don't think a lot of lessons are being taught very well
And you see how
today.
it changes, especially when Europeans come out with the greed of wanting more and more land, and native folks are like, that's not okay. You're violating our sovereign treaties and crown
Now, I've
law.
had that experience at Fort Loudon.
So ultimately
Down there.
results in
Okay, so Tennessee Fort Loudon.
shipped out to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Virginia Fort.
Yeah.
I lived there for about a year. I've seen some of the different history, and
I used to.
well, you learn history over the years of your life, and you try to distinguish between what's taught and what really happens. Get some different people to.
It's called Lies My Teacher
I
Taught
would
Me.
come
It's
up
a
on
really
my
good book.
vacation. He'd go to on vacation.
And it talks
for a
about
week.
that, how there's a lot of
I would,
untruths in textbooks, a lot of untruths in Hollywood.
Oh, well, yeah.
They,
But the textbooks too. It's always whatever the victor always writes them, and then it's whatever agenda they want to incorporate at the time.
for Hollywood, it's all about cost. It's all about expediency. They want to get their shots in. They
Years
want to
ago,
get
it's
their
such a
films
shame
in.
they
And
closed that down. Manson
they don't care
Station.
about talking to tribal folks and wanting to actually history.
Most of my stuff
real
comes from
items.
More back up and going at what?
And then I've watched several things. I imagine most of it's true that having a difficult time with the younger generations and the tribes to the traditions because they're being corrupted heavily by even something. They may not reach nothing, but they got one of these, and all of a sudden the corruption's heavy. I pointed towards my phone, by the way.
You'll see it.
Is that correct?
See now a lot of tribes, there's actually a huge resurgence in the old ways, cultural resurgency. So you'll see through Oklahoma, down in North Carolina, a lot of kids are getting back into all the traditional fiber arts, traditional skills, arrow making, blow guns, finger weaving, revitalizing pottery.
Of course, you're not supposed
I think that's one of the generations now. They're starting to like, you know what? Well, not the newest, but a little bit older. They're like, we need to get back because we're going way off. So the younger of just the non-tribe kid, the kids other in America is also
and it's really
like one of the sections, one of the generations is like, hey,
Because you see that
But-
there's a lot of regrowth in that. There's a lot of spiritual components in that. You have a lot of issues that plague the reservations today.
Yeah.
Suicide, alcoholism, a lot of loss of hope. People who say they're bored, their society's really, American society's really put them out and then abandoned them. So you'll see a lot of resurgence of the old ways to combat that. PTSD, alcoholism, teen suicide, the whole MMIW issues, missing and murdered indigenous women.
oh yes, no, I know what you're. I saw something about that one time. I'm like, whoa, yeah.
Another violation
of course, I used years ago. I worked
treaty law, where you'll have rights of eminence. Basically, the United States government will illegally drill for different minerals on tribal lands, and as a part of that, like with the oil pipelines and things, they'll bring in what's called man camps. So basically, they'll hire anybody, a warm body. If you can do X, Y, and Z, run the pipeline, come on in. They'll bulldoze a huge area. They'll put in single wide trailers. And when that comes in, you have crime. And often because it's on the reservation.
I'm going to tell you, if you did this full
Native women and
time,
kids that are.
I've had friends that
Attacks, yeah.
It stopped being fun.
The tribal structure is tribal police cannot go after non-tribal members.
See, now when I was younger, obviously it's changed. Tribal land, you're going to be subjected to tribal law because you're on their sovereign land. So has that changed, I guess? Or did they have a special exemption type thing?
It's always been the FBI, so you're on federal land, so it's the FBI, BIA, so you would be held like in contempt of federal court. It'd be federal trespassing.
Yeah.
If it's basically like today, like if you went to Washington, you see any federal property, any crime
Yeah.
on federal
Listen
property
to
now.
stories about him and all that living down there.
But you'll see where there's a lot of things that were very much like Andrew Jackson's era,
Yeah. Okay.
where basically they had a conundrum. They had sovereign tribes and sovereign nations, but they didn't want the tribes to be too sovereign. They wanted to pull back a lot of laws. For example,
I know that I
tribal
didn't go this
society,
year, but I went to the
tribal
CLA
entities
show.
cannot make their own money.
Probably saw
A lot of them cannot do business
my first
with
year.
foreign powers
When I
without
was at the
the
New
U.S.
Artist
government
Table
being included or
this
signing
year.
off on it.
Foreign powers, yeah. Well, the whole casino deal, that's kind of been a stopgap. Well, it's been more than that. It's been It's been super good for some, but I hear not so good for others.
Yeah, it all depends. It's the tribal government. So you'll have some folks like the Seminole tribe where the money has actually gone back in a percentage back to tribal members. And they've really used,
Which was the whole purpose originally, I believe. You know, like kind of like tax money from the lottery will help schools, but schools never seem to have money. Huh? Imagine that.
so the
But-
money will go back to tribal members, and a lot of that is funded via
Because the more about my
That's funded.
cultural initiatives.
Oh, okay. And to help with the reintroduction. Well, if they're not learning now, the older generations that are there, if they're not there and you haven't learned them,
tired my dad and my mom
Like they just had
you gotta.
fluent speakers of the Caddo.
COVID caught us in the same
Caddo
house.
tribe had passed away. He was one of the last fluent
I tell people
speakers.
this was a blessing.
So now that
Since they
he's
did
passed
this,
away, they really had to scramble to try to
And,
pick up
we have the
everything that
most
he knew
wondrous
from people who ever
relationship
talked to
I've
him,
ever
spoke to him, whoever did a
over 7
lesson.
decades.
So you see that now, like it's
Everything
always
happens
been
for
a
a
thing to
reason.
revere your elders, but
But
now,
I've had
especially with
passion for
technology,
it.
it's really
You can capture and share and have it out there and stuff, but if you don't, you don't. And then, yeah.
which is always good to get the truth out there because there's always, you know, pros and cons to everything. And unfortunately, you'll have a lot of people who maybe aren't an expert on certain things, but they've recorded it now, it's out there.
Yeah, and that's the problem. See, the truth is normally his side, her side, and then somewhere in the middle's probably the truth, you know, or some mixture or combination, or.
We say just like X-Files.
But we try to say the truth, you know, best we know. It can be some error, but you know, try not to do that. So.
Truth is out there, and when you think about the material culture and just how skilled that they were, the things that Native American culture has influenced, even like American Special Forces, people don't realize
was
that
telling me about her.
that's a Native concept.
Because
So
I've known
Tiki
John
Air, the
for
little brother
years.
to war, that was Native
You know,
concept
we do our-
of fighting.
Do our
Even their warfare.
research back because he's from right in there.
And it goes back to Bible times. Solomon, nothing's new under the sun. We always take from wherever group people thing before. It's all happened before. How do we, you know, or learn from the past, or you're going to repeat? So you got all kinds of little neat stuff here. I see the arrows. I see. Is that like a game right there? The ball, or is that like a hand-eye coordination thing?
Stickball.
Okay, so it's just
A term from up north would be a loner word would be Galtaway stickball. They called that the little brother to war. So you would have basically two whole tribes full of dudes all out in a big field playing stickball.
and it's hand-eye, because those are small little nets. So you got to have super good hand-eye coordination.
And you're going to be missing.
It sounds like the kids' games we played when I was young.
Sounds like football.
We go play football, and we didn't have no help, didn't have no. We just beat each other to death and crawled home.
So oftentimes,
Sometimes.
like you're saying, usually as a
Years
alternative
ago
to
down in
conflict,
Florida,
to
down in
war.
Central Florida, I did
Just kind of like back in the day with kids in gym class, two boys didn't like each other, you know, well in gym class, go duke it out, you know, in a corner, and you'll come out as best friends.
And even in my Army days, before this, you know, getting away from, you know, a little bit of hitting here and there if you got a line, which was fine, but, you know, you do the same. We take care of it right then. And then, I mean, but these, you know, this was a time where, you know, you want that brother to be good because you out in the foxhole, man. You need somebody going to protect your back, not today. And it's like, oh, certain groups, you know, are good, but others, it's like, oh, God, I'd hate to have that as my backup.
Especially with tribal society, so in this time period with flintlocks, a lot
Okay.
of natives had a lot of strategies that they would develop, like firing in 2s and 3s.
Okay, so you're talking about once they got a hold of the flintlock.
So the European contact picks up around 1540.
Okay, yeah.
Spanish coming through down south, and then even before that, like the Mantle site. If you ever research
The who?
Mantle site in Canada,
Okay, I don't know.
they basically there's a documentary about it. The oldest piece of iron found in North America was found in the Huron village that they've now called it the Mantle site, but it was the largest pre-contact village ever found currently.
Okay.
By a fluke of chance, it was never developed. It was never turned over. It was always a farmer's field. So the archaeological evidence was never lost.
Ooh.
So they found in the floor of a very, very old longhouse a piece of iron. So even before 1540 and the Spanish came through, the Basque fishermen along the coast,
Did you ever meet Mark and Debbie Lewis?
they would come ashore to fill up their
I've
water
known
and
them
salt
for
their fish.
over 40
But
years.
when they would come ashore, they'd
And I
trade with
just heard
natives.
that-
That goes back to the 1480s.
Well, they just stopped doing civil war a long time
one
ago.
of
They
those
moved up from
things
Florida.
where,
They were down there in
like
Florida.
the bass fishermen were often
Moved up
leave a
to
lot of
Columbus,
trash behind, a lot of rope and iron. Native folks were very smart, and they would
I'm moving a little more exclusively over here to you, if you don't mind.
they would help themselves to what the fishermen had left behind as trash, the ropes and the iron.
Okay. No, I hadn't heard about that, but I mean, why would I really, unless you're
So they
into the stuff? But yeah, that's a great find, man.
they picked up on it very, very quickly. And it's one of those things with European trade, the deerskin trade in the 18th century was like the gold rush or the oil boom. You
Okay.
have the deer skins, you have an economy source. You have something that you can trade for basically anything you want. You have the money,
That was the money.
whatever you want, whatever you wanted to order from a European trader. Most Eastern Woodlands villages had a European trader in their village, blacksmith, often a military presence. So you would trade undressed deer skin. You would basically kill a deer, skin it off there, you'd scrape the meat and the fat and let it dry. So basically it's just a piece of 18th century plastic, and it'd be in a big 200-pound bale, and you'd bring it into the trader and he'd weigh it out, and then he would give you items off of what those hides were worth.
Okay.
The kettles, iron, knives, guns, Stroud cloth coming from England, linen shirts pre-made or linen, or like what Jess is wearing, the block print from cotton that's actually coming from India.
Okay.
So it's fucked up today, but today cotton is super cheap.
Yeah,
In the 18th century, it was not cheap.
our young Dana out there has taught me a lot about textiles. I didn't really even care, but she made it actually interesting to me. Those chickens been there the whole time? I didn't even notice. All of a sudden, I'm like, okay, I saw hers, and I saw you, and I'm like, wait, what's that kicking back there?
You'll see, so even like what Jess is weaving, that's all trade economy right there. The yarn and beads are coming from European traders, so it's like an 18th century Rolex. It's the money that you have to show your standing, who you are, the tribal politics. And
It's the same as life continues: status, culture,
the things that
money,
you have,
prestige, the whole deal.
What can you
So
afford as a man?
another question. She said 2 years ago. Sorry, there. How long have you been enjoying this? Or what got you into the reenactments? I mean, do you have
Pretty much my whole life. So my dad's side has native ancestry and some very prominent European folks that
so
were very prominent.
so the historicity of your family is what stemmed it. So if you said your whole life, so your family was also
Yes,
interested.
I've always been interested in this, and I guess it's the benefit of being a 90s kid with a library card and Last Mohicans.
Ah, you remember. Yeah.
The deeper you dive, the more you learn, and then living history is a wild thing. It's a hobby that can quickly become all-consuming.
I know Dana. I've seen how she's corrupted poor Wanda. I know. It's good.
Over, and then the like that movie with Grey Owl with Pierce Brosnan. There's a scene in there where they're dancing, and the Anglo-European lady wants to know how authentic the dance is, and they tell her the more you pay, the more authentic it gets. It's very, very true with.
Well, because you're finding stuff that ain't just at the yard sale. It's
to travel, you'll have to go to places like Niagara, Fort Niagara.
but that's exciting.
William.
I love travel, so I do travel extensively. Well, not of recent, but I have traveled and I love it. That's where you get to talk to people, you learn stuff, you see stuff. I don't specialize in anything except recording it. Well, camera, which I'll do after. But so, can you tell me about the stuff you have on? I mean, I heard about the stripes. That's for, you've already explained that.
Your war honor. So this would be blue broadcloth that would be traded from Europeans.
Okay.
Very prominent colors. Basically, women love the color red. So in Eastern Woodlands villages, Cherokees, Creeks, and Shawnees, women often took all the red Stroud. So to have any kind of red Stroud, you would often have some sort of pull or some sort of prominence in the town.
Like being married to her.
Because often you'll see the men just with blue.
Okay.
So Stroud. So this is coming from Stroud, England.
Okay, I was getting ready to say how come Stroud's in it.
And it is
Okay.
known by that because this white edge, the salvage edge, is how it is tied over a stick and dip dyed for different colors. So when they pull it out, it leaves this white edge. So usually for European consumers, they would just cut this off, and that's waste. But for First Nations people, they like those colors, like tie-dye.
I like it. It gives a distinction. And it's like, okay,
So
little
you'll
mixture.
see, red, black, purple, a bunch of different colors. And as a part of the deerskin trade, there was actually specific colors being custom ordered, like block print, that you
Okay.
could tell a trader, I want so many yards, so many bolts or bales of this specific color, and I would like it by this time period. Because people don't understand that at this time period, massive amounts of freight were coming up the waterways to Shawnee and Miami towns, for example, Cherokee towns.
Once the train started coming in.
Huge bales,
Yeah.
200-pound bales of fabric. So then you would have linen, white linen shirts are very common. Either pre-made linen shirts or shirts that
And those are the ones that are soft and not too heavy on you, so
they can breathe.
depending.
So you'll have
So it's good for like the weather. Well, today's great, but it's good for the hot weather. And
Yeah, very common too for European people. Often they're not wearing them like native people are. For European people, you should be wearing a waistcoat and a coat and more layers, because to them I would be considered naked and
And I would be exactly 100% like you, even though I don't have the Indian tribe. It's like the less, the better, so I can stay cool because I'm overheated most of the time. I mean, well, shorts and super thin shirt, but yeah. But that's great, yeah.
different meanings. So this is heddle woven. This is a heddle woven leg tie garter. This is based on Cherokee example.
And what's that mean? A head of logo? Is that
Heddle
just?
woven. So basically, it's
Head of okay. So that's what she's doing.
so it's a different style. So it's on a loom with beads.
Yeah, that's what she's doing now. The head of okay.
So which another distinction, different ranks within tribal society, different things that you're wearing, different colors, different patterns, different like straps, sashes, things like that. And then you also have finger woven, like this one is based off an original.
Okay, so that's not finger woven then, but this is yeah. Cause that's what she's doing.
So yeah, two different styles,
Okay, so okay.
different materials. Very, very much still 18th century like Rolexes and designer consumerism going on there.
Okay.
Trying to keep up with the Joneses and
Gotcha.
flashy. You're all of
So it's flashy decor. Okay, so nothing changes except yeah.
things traded for, like all your silver.
Yeah, I like them. I was checking out the.
So
the
you can
rings.
either get them in trade, like with the deerskin trade, but also at this time period, First Nations folks are still world powers. So there's still people that European powers come out and try to politic with to get tribal allegiance and tribal members to fight with them, like in the French Indian.
Oh, okay.
So they would come out to a Shawnee village or the Great Council, and they would want warriors. They would want basically an alliance with that tribe to fight with them, say against the French or the French against the British.
And would they offer them wares, or would they offer them protection, or or combination, or just?
Combination of exclusive
And
trading rights.
Okay,
They
so
would bring out a whole blanket full of goodies. So
Gotcha.
It's often most people don't realize, but the deerskin trade was over 70% fabric and women related, because the woodland on this side, Eastern Woodlands tribes are mostly matrilineal, so women ran the entire show.
mostly say that word again.
Matrilineal.
Oh, like the matriarch, so the lady.
Women that
Gotcha.
run everything, all flannel say. So there's a lot of politicking, and there's a lot of gift giving as part of the culture. So they
Gotcha.
would often have a whole big thing out of like trade kettles and things, and
Okay, because they're going not just for the warrior, they need stuff for the ladies
the women were
to
the ones
sway.
that really had the final say.
So kind of like today and every time since history.
Yeah.
Yes, dear.
As part of that, you'll see a lot of stereotypes like through Hollywood, where guys are trading deerskins for guns, when in reality, you had all the guns you could ever want, because anytime there's ever like a government talk of any kind with the world power, the French or the British, often the guns are a part of it. Guns, tomahawks, and knives are laid out for free on a blanket. So you'll actually see accounts where the men say Cherokees are fighting with the British and they're going to be paid for their service in guns. But you'll see the guys say, we have enough guns at home, I survived the conflict.
Yeah.
I'd rather not go home and die to my life. I would prefer you give me the value my gun and cloth of a certain kind, and I'll bring that home
Yeah.
because I'm good on guns, but not on Tavern.
Gotcha.
You'll see in the documents.
So the proper barter system was, well, that's trade for services, goods and services, but
So you'll see in the fur trade that the fur trade is over 70% related to women. It is mostly 70% domestic related, fabric, yarn, needles, thread, scissors, a little bit of woodworking tools, cooking items, and oftentimes on those trade ledgers, there's no firearms listed. So we know what was traded in the Ohio River Valley, for example, because of the bale seals. Just like today on the back of a semi-truck.
oh, the seals, the actual, okay, gotcha.
On a huge cloth wrap bale, they would have a lead seal. It's affixed to it that'd be stamped back in England or France or wherever it came from, and it was basically customs that you paid customs, and it was a way to tell customs exactly
What
was in
it
that
was.
bale. And it
Oh.
would be the fabric, what was dyed, the pound weight, where it came from, where it's going.
So you got full detailed information right
So now
there.
there's people like Greg Shipley that do private archaeology in the Ohio River Valley, and they'll go through, say, like an old Shawnee town that's now a farm field, and they'll dig up the bale seals. Well, when you get those, and if they haven't been squashed or cast in a round ball for a musket or a fowler or something like that, you can take that and you can actually trace it back to France or England and figure out exactly what was.
Because they had good records back then, and if it's still available, they got it.
So like McKeestown or Laramie, you could take that bale seal and you could look back through the trade ledgers that still exist, compare that bale seal to those ledgers, and you can pinpoint exactly what time period, what year, what was traded, where it went, what they made it out of, what it was, blankets, cloths.
Nice.
So you'll see people that say, well, how do you know what they had because you weren't there? It's like, well, I wasn't there, but fortunately, people could read and write and do basic math, so the record will live on forever. And you'll see a lot of very interesting things in those. Like a lot of people will, they'll the stereotypical native longhouse, very primitive folks wearing like feather and furs, and in reality, longhouses had furniture. Chandeliers, four-poster beds, feather tick mattresses,
Well-
grandfather clocks.
It's like here with the log cabin. No one would have left the logs exposed. They would have been clapboard covered immediately. It's like we're not, the folk out there. And besides, it was city time. You want a house that's got to be covered. So, but people today, it's like, ooh, look, it's like, no, never.
So actually, at a certain point, your cabin was one of the first things you would throw out very quickly, but yeah, be weatherboarded as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And then as soon as the European encroachment, as soon as you had a sawmill, you're not fooling with logs anymore. You're going to have a nice framed addition. You'll see a lot of old houses where the log cabin is now absorbed in the middle, and all around it it's a beautiful wood framed house. Or even more prominently, like down in Kentucky, the William Whitley house made out of brick. So you had a lot of keeping up with the Joneses, the same as in tribal society.
That's it. So looking at your medallion, what's the history on that?
It'd be a gorget. So basically, in like the medieval ages, they had armor. So as armor transfers to firearms, to massed infantry on a battlefield, officers kept the one last piece of armor, last piece of knight's armor, a gorget. So it'd be a mark of distinction.
So that's
for the
okay.
French and the British, as the mark of being an officer, somebody was standing.
Okay, I didn't.
So for
no.
native folks, it would be again.
I see it's got a design on it.
Yeah, it's
So-
a bear.
A bear. Nice. I couldn't make it out, but I could see it's got a
So
design.
a lot of times, just like the ribbons, these are not things you just put on yourself. Just like today, like you can't just go and buy a Medal of Honor and wear it around. It's kind of frowned upon.
Yeah.
These are things that like elders in the tribe would give to you, would sign off on you.
Same as you earn your stripes, they feel you've deserved it.
You deserve to have that.
And then it actually means something to you because you're there.
Same with your war honor tattoos. You'll actually see accounts of guys that tattooed themselves with war honor tattoos, fictitious war honor tattoos.
Oh,
And when the old men found out about it and fact checked them, they either would cut it off or like use corn juice or chemical concoction, a plant concoction, to dissolve the tattoo off.
yeah. Well, yeah.
So you have
So they
things like, of course, European round hats, but then
Yeah, I was curious about your hat next. I was going to ask about that and then the
had
feather.
feathers, marks of distinction in the hat itself. So a lot of the officers, just like gorgets, A lot of the European men, the officers will have beautiful plumes, like especially the French were known for it, ostrich feathers and their hats. So it was another mark of distinction.
But they'd wear these type hats, and I've never seen that.
And it would be cut down.
I've never seen that before. That's odd. I've seen quite a few, but never in this dress style. Even with that either.
Yeah. So we tell people everybody burns in the sun. So Native people were not dumb by any means. So whatever they can wear to help them in their natural environment, going about their day-to-day tasks, keep the sun out of your face. Just same with the shroud and linen. Basically, it's a time savings. The women don't have to brain tan hides. They don't have to waste time doing these other activities when they can just get materials in a bolt off a bale, and then they can just quickly sew things up.
And then you got something free to move quickly and get around when the weather's right.
And then they quickly found out that the wool, when it gets wet, will maintain its warmth. Whereas if you're wearing like buckskin brain tan leggings and they get wet, now they turn clammy and gross.
Yeah.
And you'll probably get pneumonia.
And you got some furs around there. Is that? Oh, that's a bag.
So this is an otter skin. So you'll see a lot of guys and women will wear otter bags. So this is a.
And them braids.
Yeah.
The ribbons, I guess. What is that?
Different ribbons, so they mean different things. So there's just like your one.
Okay. I assumed it was probably something, but I have no idea what.
And then for guys, just wanted to be gaudy too, and it's another way of keeping them handy.
Oh, okay.
It's
like, this is mine. See, I got the certain ribbon pattern and stuff. Okay, so that's just a hold.
So this would be a larger bag. So this would be more like a wearing bag. So your fire kit and your smoking kit. So this is larger.
Okay.
But then there's smaller ones that would be half the size, and that would be a shooting bag.
See, and I've seen small stuff. I haven't seen one that big either. So
smaller ones that's just for shooting your Fowler.
So that's what they're for.
Because they learned very quickly, even after this otter is tanned, it'll still maintain oils, so it's waterproof. So when it rains on it, it'll beat off.
That's great. Yeah. Is that a knife container there?
Yep.
No, I meant that little piece.
So this right.
Oh, okay. It's not.
This is a bear claw.
Ooh.
Another mark of distinction. So this is off like a headman sash.
I see it's touching the stash now. I didn't see the sash.
This is actually a tobacco bag, part of it.
Tobacco.
Society.
Gotcha.
And so this would be hanging off of a sash. This show marks of distinction, who you are, and the role that you play in society.
Okay.
So all things like that have meaning, and then of course like your trade knives, like this one would be very highly coveted. This is a French trade pattern, a boucheron blade with a moose antler handle. And these are things that men really like. These are the things that definitely made their life a lot easier.
Okay.
It's kind of like today you have a thing with like bushcraft. People want to go out in the woods and do things. They want to use flint and steel and do all these kind of like crafty bush lore kind of things. But when you really look at First Nations culture, what guys were able to do with a blanket roll and a knife and not much else out in what would be considered the wilderness, which is another stereotype because it really wasn't the wilderness. It was all manicured and a lot of it was burned back.
So in the beginning, though, most of them followed like the animals and stuff. Is that part true, or is it like
really?
Not really. I'm going way back from what you learned, and I guess that's
so originally. It's tribal society has a lot of patterns, a lot of specific times of the year that you do specific things. So a lot of them are farming societies. So you would have a village that you would just kind of rotate in a circle.
Okay, so they would travel, but to different sites depending on the weather and stuff. And then, so it's like a pre-set up next home area.
So you would have like
gotcha.
Say like in the early spring, it's sugar season. It's maple sugaring time. Tap the maple trees, and you would have maple sugaring camp set up.
That's where That's where camp was.
And then you would rotate, and then the very next thing is you would rotate back to your spring and summer villages, fix the lodges, and then you start planting the corn, taking care of the corn. And while the corn is taking off, then families would separate off into hunting camps down into the Kentucky areas and like the Ohio River Valley to go hunt buffalo, elk, and deer, that kind of stuff.
Okay, so they did move, but the rest of the story is they had their
specific
places, so that it's not a restart up of everything. It's a fix up, continue.
Which most of our current highways are actually based on what they would consider Indian walking paths or buffalo roads. So there was lots of footpaths that connected all towns, just like what they would say the White Roots of Peace. Most native tribes had runners. Every Eastern Woodlands tribe, usually their towns had some sort of like a racetrack as part of it. Young men would run and race each other, and that was a major means of speedy communication. 18th century cell phone was young men with wampum belts or knotted rope. They would run from one village to another. You were expected to be able to run 50 miles in a day on parched corn and deer meat.
Okay, so that part was true. So that's one part they taught that's accurate, I guess.
And it wasn't wilderness. It was very well maintained, and they used fire. It was very manicured,
but the fact of having their own set areas that they did move, but it was just set areas that they're used to going.
And like your longhouse, you would have your poles already there, and then all you'd have to do is go at the right time of the year, peel the bark and replace bark, that kind of thing. But it was all your tribal calendar. Your different dances, things to do.
We are learning a ton of new stuff here. What's your name?
My name's Joe.
Joe, good to meet you and stuff. With your wife briefly, that was interesting, but this is.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts,
good.
and you'll see where a lot of the European encroachment starts to cause a lot of issues because of just how profoundly it influences native culture. So, like, in tribal politics, especially in the 18th century, it was always 7 generations into the future. But now you're coming into a weird gray area where these European folks are violating crown law, coming across the mountains, and they're coming into the areas you traditionally hunted. So now you can no longer rotate anymore. Now your area that you can hunt is getting smaller and smaller.
And it ain't just this country who did it to. Other countries and societies and stuff. No, you're locked down into this. We'll provide for you. That's turned out great every time.
So that
except it has not.
Because then you see where these native men and these women in these council meetings are trying to talk to these European world powers, the British, the French, or even the fledgling United States, to say, well, what about our kids? What are we supposed to eat? Because you're settling, you're coming closer and closer, and you're cutting us off. And then a lot of European people, just like today, they had a lot of these like penny manuscripts, these papers that were published, in Tidewater colonies, like broadsheets passed out in taverns. And of course, whatever's sensational will sell. So you'll see a lot of native stories that are basically the 18th century periodicals are not true, but it's the scary
the Enquirer of the day.
Oh, such and so went out to the outhouse and got snatched by wild Indians, never seen from again. Or, this conflict or that, which isn't even true.
Yeah.
So then you have European people that are very wary, and now they're out here in the Ohio.
Because that was real. That was solid. That was in the paper. It had to be true.
So say you're dressed like me, you're looking like you're a native, and you're walking through the bushes, and maybe you're coming up to a settlement because you wish to talk to somebody. Like, hey, what is this? Why are you here?
And now you're dead. Or something.
So the common practice, you see a lot of it in accounts, is to shoot first and ask questions later. So there wouldn't have been any conflict had they not fired upon this native person first walking into the settlement, because this older man and this war party just want to come in and just have a talk of we are rotating, and now next spring you're coming around, and now all of a sudden there's a fort and you never signed off on it. You don't know who these people are, but they are firmly established and looks like they want to stay, and when you walk up they open up on you. So as a native person, what are you supposed to do? Do you fire back, or do you just get shot? So that usually led to a lot of conflict.
Oh, yeah.
Blood vengeance, because now you have people who...
For no reason,
are now dead, and now you have to go back to that tribal community and explain why certain people were innocently, just gunned down for no reason. And now you'll have people in that tribal community who are very upset. And especially by the 1780s, like the Delawares are being pushed.
Oh, okay,
and they're coming this way. And then they have their own tales to tell of, well, we tried to talk to the English. We tried to go to their treaty talks, but they still steamrolled us.
Yeah, that didn't quite make the books.
So when that gets into with the Shawnee towns now, and you're like Shawnees and Miamis, when they're in their council talks,
they know what's coming their way.
These voices are being heard that these people are saying, don't trust them.
Yeah, don't even start with the,
So then now you have like raids like on Fort Harrod, Boonesboro.
Preemptive strike, since the game's
on, and they obviously don't want to talk terms of peace. And then often when they do talk terms of peace, you'll see like Matt Anthony Wayne, when he's given a peace bell in the middle of a peace talk, he throws it on the ground and stomps on it, breaks it into little pieces. It'd be basically like ripping a rosary out of a Catholic's hand and destroying it, and then wondering why they're upset with you.
Is there a peace belt down there that you'd?
So there's the one bowl.
Oh, okay. It was the blue one. Got you. Okay.
So they would come out and these peace talks, and these belts would be exchanged. And then with European powers who were very much, you have a very interesting clash of cultures where they feel like they're European and they've arrived. And, you know, natives are from a different culture and you're not a Christian, thus you're part of manifest destiny. God wills it.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're just an ignorant savage and you just need to give up what you have because we'll take care of it better.
Nothing's changed today.
Like they say on the reservation, same old Calvary.
Yeah, and today is, you know, like talk about taking the land or whatever. You own your house? I don't know what right you think you have to it, not without permission from the government. And if they want it, it's a little thing called eminent domain or whatever.
Yeah,
it's all.
Yeah, most people don't
comes
realize
back on top.
One of our most famous national parks, the Great Smoky Mountains, that was eminent domain. That was all taken away from farmers. And the 1900s, the 20s and 30s. They came in and said, we're taking this entire valley and you can go. And we'll give you a little bit. And then you had families like the Walker sisters that worked terms out with the government, but basically were only allowed to live there until the last one died. You know, people don't realize that the government is very interesting.
They just have to be old enough, and then you can see the real world instead of what's presented.
Yeah, especially when it comes to native issues, they don't teach that in schools, and probably for a lot of reasons because they don't want people to know.
To be fair, they don't teach much of anything in schools. I'm saying it. Yeah.
And then there's roughly what people have said when you look at it, the major treaties. There's probably over 500 different broken treaties. Back in the 1970s, they had a lot of American Indian movements, and they had what was called a very long march to D.C. The Trail of Broken Treaties, demanding that the U.S. government honor all of its broken treaties, which they still have not done.
No, that's a non. But they're different things. I think the whole casino thing, whether it's good or bad or whatever, it seemed to have helped a lot of the tribal stuff. Where they're stuck. They're in a tiny little area, but now they can be prosperous for a certain way. And like you said, is able to use some of that to start reintroducing some of the culture before the elders are all gone.
Yes, it's self-sufficiency. It's a means to have a revenue stream to get even more self-sufficient. So people often think only about the casino, very one-dimensional, and they don't see all the moving parts. They don't see that money is also going for tribal empowerment. They also don't see that.
Well, I mean, that was the whole thing that was originally the sell point, or at least, you know, from my outside point of view. Besides, of course, all the corruption and stuff that's in it, you know, but if it gets back. Well, it's like I said, they do plenty of corruption with us, and I'll just use the lottery as an example. That's going to take care of this or this and this. Yet teachers have to buy supplies. I'm just saying, you know, it's like, where's the billions? Where's the, anyways, yeah. You know, I don't worry because I live in the real world, not the Pollyanna as we wish it would be, but what's really happening. So we just got to deal with the real truth. I appreciate your time. This was excellent information.
There's lots to learn. There's lots of books. There's a lot of very knowledgeable people.
This is how, this is it. So, and you're friends with Dana, right? Mm-hmm. That's it. See, Dana has been a core person. She's been a godsend to our little tiny community down here.
Yeah.
She's
very good people like Dana and like the books. Very knowledgeable people.
Well, I appreciate it.
And that was going to Williamsburg.
I know Dana is hot on the fabrics to tell you, no, not now. Not even this decade. It's a decade later. She's been teaching a lot on there. We have our Weaver guy. I don't know if Lee's in there, probably with this stuff. He's teaching people a lot on that as well.
Yeah. So you'll see a lot of that where it's fighting stereotypes and it's trying to get back to the historic time period and trying to recreate what was basically like time travel. What was in the 1780s and that historic time period. What did they use and what did they trade? And basically it's going through artwork, ledger accounts, written accounts, people who traveled through like a Shawnee town, Miami town. What did they use? What did they see? You know, you'll see in the accounts, what did they order, what are they using.
And one big nice thing was on bale things. You said the metal, if you got to survive, and it tells you exactly what that bale was and the weight and the.
Because people forget that, you know, just like today, if you work a 9-to-5 job, you only get paid for what you're doing. So just like in the 18th century, you want to get paid for goods and services. If you're hauling something from France to America, the people that are bankrolling all of that want to know where their investment is going. They want to know how many hands are touching it. And there's people who are very savvy with business, just like Alexander Hamilton, and they're trying to all the time streamline their business, make it more profitable. So you'll see a lot of moving parts, like even that 10 kettle, where Shawnee women are asking for it not to have bale ears, because
Not to have what?
Bale ears.
What's that?
See, so the metal handle it comes over, how the little pieces that stick up.
It goes in.
Ears,
Okay.
they're dog ears. That's the correct.
Okay.
So you'll see where, because of their movement, they want things to collapse, telescope inside. You want to be able to shove as much stuff in there as you can.
Got you.
So they're telling the European folks exactly what they want in these orders. They want kettles that look like this with a flat bottom. They want the bale ears to be exactly like this, like that French Biscayne axe down there. They want heavy splitting axes. You'll see like this smaller tomahawk head here by the small drinking kettle.
Yeah.
A lot of times at events you'll see small ones like that, but those were not as common as the actual woodworking tool or trade hoes, things like that were incredibly common. Things that, you know, you really have to seek out the good makers to get them. Just like that small kettle made by Ward Oles from Eastern Door. This one right here, this very small drink.
Oh, okay. This one, the smallest one.
Things like that are very incredibly common. But, you know, you often don't see them.
Okay. Well, I greatly appreciate your time. We'll move on. It's been excellent. I know he had a lot of good information. Can I ask what you're doing and what's your name, I guess?
My name is Jake Book.
Thank you, Jake. And then
And I'm trying to show here. I'm sure you know you're familiar with certain frontiersmen like Daniel Boone and Simon Kenton and those types of folks. But there was a lot of people who went to the frontier, maybe weren't quite as illustrious, but nevertheless they left behind quite a record for us to kind of research and look into. So what I have here is sort of a representation of the clothing and accoutrements of an English gentleman named Nicholas Cresswell, who came over in 1774. His primary goal was to become he was interested in farming. He wanted to basically settle in America and be a farmer. And he had some money. He came over by way of Barbados. He got on a ship, came through Barbados, ends up in Virginia, kind of travels around, sees some different things, but he decides at a certain point he kind of runs out of money, and so he gets in with this group. These guys say, hey, we're going to the Illinois country, which that's basically like the edge of the world as far as they're concerned. We're going out there, you know, you can make some money doing this. So he ends up going with these guys. He buys a few things. He writes down in his diary that he buys blankets. He buys a kettle, an axe, a tomahawk specifically, a frying pan, and then flint and lead for his gun.
Okay.
He also talks about some provisions that they have, some flour, different things. So he ends up heading out with these guys. They're going west, and they end up on the Ohio River. They're coming down the Ohio, and he kind of realizes pretty quickly these guys are not very competent individuals that he's with, and they're constantly fighting with each other. They're doing some hunting while they're out there. They're hunting buffalo to get meat for the trip. At one point they catch a turtle and they cook up a turtle for soup. So Cresswell is kind of writing about going down. This is happening in 1775, in spring of 1775. So
okay.
he is on this trip during when Lexington and Concord is happening in Massachusetts. So Lexington and Concord happens. The Battle of Bunker Hill happens while he's out on this journey. Now he's from England, so he's a loyalist, and he ends up getting in a heated argument with one of the guys that he's with about the politics of the day. And he's a loyalist, and this guy's not and he says in his diary, I had to bite my tongue. And I had to give up talking to this, he calls him a red-hot Liberty man. And so he continues on the trip. They end up at the mouth of the Kentucky River, where the Kentucky flows into the Ohio, and they go up the Kentucky River, and they're trying to get down to Harrodsburg, or modern-day Harrodsburg, Fort Herod at the time. They want to go down there and stop and get some provisions. Well, on the way, they end up meeting another group of guys, and by this point Cresswell's had it with the people that he's with. So he inquires as to where these guys are going. We're going back to Fort Pitt in Pennsylvania, and he's like, all right, I'm going with you. He's done with that. So one of the things that his diary reveals is, when he came to America, he was dressed properly as an Englishman, as anybody in that time period would have been dressed. Unlike today, there was a common fashion, and really the fashion didn't really change whether you were rich or poor. It just meant how the garments looked, but the same silhouette. It's a jacket, breeches, a waistcoat. So that's what he's wearing. He gets out onto the frontier when he teams up with these guys that are on their way to Fort Pitt. One of them's an Englishman. He's still wearing his breeches and stuff, but the others he describes are an Irishman, I think a German, and a Dutchman, and they're all wearing this garment here, which is called a hunting shirt. And this garment is going to basically be kind of the symbol of patriotism in the southern colonies and in the backcountry. The hunting shirt becomes the first uniform of the Virginia troops when Washington marches to Boston to take command of the army. The Virginians are wearing hunting shirts. We have descriptions of them. They're a kind of a jacket with an open front, fringed along the edges, and then they have a cape. And the cape, it is somewhat practical. It kind of sheds water a bit. But people think like, people back then were just intensely practical all the time. They did everything for a reason. Well, sometimes they just liked how things looked.
Well, it's the same as all the cultures looking for the.
Yeah, and I think this was a case where it just looked cool. I'm sure there was some utility to it, but it looks really cool. So this becomes the garment that really distinguishes you as a sort of backwoodsman or frontiersman of the time. Now, I will say that just because something is a garment that's associated with the backcountry, not everybody in the backcountry is wearing this. They're what I'm wearing today, this is a very working class outfit. This is not, I'm not dressed up. This isn't, the finery that I would wear. If I was a farm laborer or a worker of some kind, this is basically what I'd be wearing. Trousers, very common for labor classes, whereas breeches, where all classes wore breeches. So that's this garment. Like I said, it becomes the first uniform of the Virginia troops. That's eventually going to be replaced, not entirely, but mostly by what becomes the first, regimental coat for the congressional troops. The classic blue with red facings. They also did a lot of other colors too, but this was common for Virginia troops at the time.
Okay.
So the men he describes, they're not just wearing hunting shirts, they're also wearing leggings. They're wearing breech clouts, similar to native style breech clout. They're wearing moccasins, and so the thing to kind of remember about this time period too is we've been here in this country by that point, Europeans, for about 150 years. So we've had time, in that time, that there's this kind of American identity that's like starting to emerge. And it's very much tied up with this garment. This garment's sort of an expression of American, an American identity that's cropping up. And the idea of the frontier, the idea of the rugged individual, the idea of all that, that's going to come into the 19th century, and they're going to look back on this time and romanticize all this stuff. What James Fenimore Cooper's going to write, Last of the Mohicans, it's very, kind of sensationalized. But this is basically where it all starts in the 1770s, as we are becoming a nation that's distinct from England. Now, there's a third culture that's happening as well, that's been here for even longer, and that's the Native American culture, which is influencing Americans. They're coming out onto the frontier, they're encountering native people, they're trading with native people. So Cresswell, when he leaves, he actually buys a bunch of silver, he says in his diary, silver trinkets to barter with the Indians. So he fully expects to encounter Native Americans. And the other important part to remember why he's thinking that way is 1774 has just happened with Lord Dunmore's War. The natives have already had a huge battle with Virginia troops in what's modern day Point Pleasant, West Virginia. And so the natives at this time are still very hostile. The British are encouraging them to attack settlers who are coming west. So you really had to be kind of careful. At one point they do encounter a native party coming up the river, and they get really scared. At one point the Irishman that's with them, Cresswell describes him as he's Catholic, he's Irish, he's Catholic. At one point he's laying in the bottom of the boat with his rosary, praying he says the Ave Maria, the Hail Mary, as these Indians are approaching them. And Cresswell's kind of like irritated at him because he's not like getting his gun and getting ready, but it ends up the natives are peaceful. They end up trading with them a little bit, and there wasn't anything to fear. But so on their journey back, they're in Ohio. He ends up staying with some Native American tribes. He ends up kind of assimilating to their mode of dress even more. At one point he gets asked to be a part of a dance. He strips down to his leggings and his breech clout and no shirt, and they paint him up, and he says that he tried his best to kind of imitate the Native Americans dancing, but he wasn't very good at it, and they laughed at him and pointed. But he ends up getting as a gift, he ends up getting a tobacco pouch that's made out of an otter. This one's made out of a muskrat, but that's given to him. He gets some Indian garters. So he enjoys his time somewhat with the Indians, but at the same time, it's just such a culture shock that he's having a hard time, and he's English, so the English kind of had an attitude. There was a beneath, kind of looking down, at the same time kind of admiring them. So it's really fascinating. He paints a really fascinating picture of the cultural exchange that's happening in this time period. So he ends up back east. He ends up not making any money on his trip. He ends up kind of impoverished, and he's in New York City for a while. He's commenting on the war that's unfolding until about 1777, and then he ends up going back to England, and that's where he stays for the rest of his life. So he was out here in the Ohio country for a handful of months, had a wild adventure,
and all this was just in months' time.
Yeah. So I think from April, I think in February he was starting to get ready for the trip, and I want to say it lasts until about September.
So he just had a great little short term.
So not a whole long time, but enough to get a
Enough to get us some stories today on the show.
Exactly.
So he got a first-hand
Yeah.
dose of a lot of stuff
Yep.
and survived.
And survived.
That's good.
Had, I'm sure, wild stories to tell his grandchildren as he got old.
Yeah, and I'm sure they wouldn't have been embellished at all either, but
Oh yeah, I'm sure not. I'm sure not.
well, I appreciate that. One other question.
Yes.
What got you involved into the reenactment? I was curious about that.
Yeah, so my dad started reenacting in 1974, 3 or 4, right before the bicentennial, and
Okay.
he took there was a professor at a university who was teaching a extra class on muzzleloading, and he got into that, and that ended up kind of changing his whole life. And when I was growing up, he actually did this for a living.
Okay.
He had what's called a sutlery, which is sold items for other reenactors and the general.
Oh, okay.
So we would travel when I was a kid. We would go to about 40 to 45 of these a year, all over the country. And
So this is life for you.
it was life for me, and it still continues to be sort of my main. If I'm at home, you'll probably find me engaging with this.
Preparing, finding, looking.
Yeah.
Okay.
So lots of reading, lots of going out. I actually go out in the woods and use this stuff and try to
Okay. Then have great information to share, and we appreciate that very much. Well,
for coming out.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for watching the Miamisburg Heritage Village Revolutionary War Native American Weekend. This was part 1. Be sure to come back for part 2. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, and don't forget to like, comment, and share to help others find it. I post videos from events and things to do all around Miamisburg and beyond, so come back anytime to see what's new. I'm Miamisburg Jay, sharing real people, real places, and real stories. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.